Alright, Trial Mob, so today Joytoy is taking over with a myriad of different releases. We also have a few different scales here that we're going to talk about. You might have seen some of this before, but I feel like I got a little bit more photos and a little bit more information overall. So let's go ahead and break it all down and see if this is something you're going to want to get your hands on. Now, before we get into anything else, let me just go over the community post that we just put out. So the last poll that I put up was which one of the Trader Legions were you guys most ready for Joytoy to try and release. Now, my favorite is the Night Lords. I think second up would be the Thousand Suns for me, exactly how we see here. And the Death Guard would be third for me. However, it seems to be that most of the community wants the Death Guard, and it makes sense. It's what Warhammer has been pushing for quite some time now, and we've gotten a lot of Plague, Pestilence stuff in the actual Warhammer universe, so I understand why people would really want the Death Guard. I have an idea that most likely, if any Trader Legion we get next, is most likely going to be either the Death Guard or at least something that is similar to the Black Legion, all right, because that's what we keep getting, sort of like these repaints. So I would not be surprised if we do get them, though it would be pretty rad if we got the Death Guard, in all honesty. So I am hoping that we all get our wish, because I do want the Death Guard and the Night Lords. Now, on top of that, I did put out for some Xenos, and to see which one you guys wanted, and actually something crazy happened. So Eldari, Tau, and Necron, and Tau and Necron are currently tied, so I have no winner for you guys for this one. So if you are watching this right now, this post is still up. Find it in my community post, give me a vote so I can go ahead and give you guys a real winner of what the community wants. Though in all honesty, in real life, I think Joytoy has the highest chance of most likely giving us the Necrons, because as it sits right now, McFarlane has already put out Necron stuff, and it would only make sense that Joytoy might follow in their footsteps, because there's already somewhat of a market there that people obviously wanted, which is the reason why McFarlane even went forward with the Necrons. So we'll see what happens, but again, please vote. I would like to give you guys a real winner, and I have another poll coming out later today. So to start everything off today with the Joytoy, so we have the Skeleton Forces Shadow Wing Hunter. Now, I thought this was the same guy from last week that I covered, or it might have actually been a few weeks ago, but this is actually a different paint scheme altogether. The other one had more orange all throughout. This one seems to have orange and green, and I gotta say, this is a beautiful looking figure. I think that's a badass helmet. I'm actually surprised how cool it looks, to be honest. And the body looks pretty nice overall, the guns that it comes with. I think the aesthetic that we're getting here is pretty badass. Now, this is supposed to go with obviously the Skeleton Forces, and these are supposed to be technically exclusive, so these are going to cost a little bit more, but hopefully that means that the overall quality will be better. And I do have a few things I want to share with you guys that I've noticed just from photography. Now here we get an awesome shot from the back, and as you can tell, there's a myriad of different things that basically pop out. It looks like he has some sort of, I don't know, ammunition and such things on his bag. You can see the pistol holster. A lot of the detail that, you know, sometimes you think a lot of these figures might not even come with, but when it comes to this Joytoy stuff, it's a 360 experience. Same with Acid Rain, same with a lot of these 118 stuff. They really put in an effort to cover all the bases. So front and back, this thing looks pretty dope. Now, all the Battle for the Stars stuff does look really cool, but one of the things that I don't like about a lot of it is that you don't necessarily get the best articulation in comparison to, let's say, what we get from Warhammer, the Joytoy Warhammer releases. But as you can tell here, he seems to be able to look down sight no problem, and that arm seems to bend past 90 degrees. I do have other photos here that we'll get to in a second, but it looks like this might potentially be using a newer buck, or potentially, I haven't bought in some of this stuff, so I don't know at what point they released this newer buck, but I do know that it came with a lot of the Navy SEAL stuff. So if that's the case, then this should have better articulation than what we've seen before. Now here we have him in a kneeling position, still being able to look down sight. That is a beautiful pose. I like that they can do that. I'm a little confused on why they made his leg the way they did. It would have made more sense to have it flat on the ground, which it obviously can, everything considered. But I think really what they were trying to show here was the fact that you get really far articulation in the knees. That goes way past 90 degrees, so that's definitely a plus for this kind of figure. I'm sure it's going to be double jointed, though I guess they could get that kind of overall look with a single joint, but I'm pretty sure it's a double joint. So again, that looks pretty badass. Here we have another action pose, and again, it just looks great. The overall proportions of this one seem to look a bit better than what we've seen before. The main thing about this photo is just we're seeing one of the other weapons that he comes with. This one seems to be more of an SMG style, and just the way he looks very imposing. The overall positioning of the weapons, and obviously this is showcasing how well he can hold the gun in a myriad of different basically looks. So I think that this is really great stuff that we're getting here from Joytoy. Now, you know, I've always said that this is always, for me, a must-buy whenever a figure comes with multiple, or not even multiple knives, but just swords or knives in general. And we get here what must be the very first time we've ever seen this knife here before. It looks absolutely amazing with that serrated edge, or at least the look of the serrated edge. It's not as long as an actual sword, but it's not short enough to just be a regular blade. So I kind of like that. It's got a really nice size to it, and the way that he can hold it looks badass, and he's dual wielding knives. Holy crap, I already thought this guy was badass, but on top of that, seeing some of these extras and considering how good the articulation is looking, you're going to get a lot for the figure. So if there is a price premium, it definitely seems to me that it's starting to look a lot more worth it. And tell me if I'm wrong, but you guys see a little bit of Deathstroke in this guy from the DC universe? Now, again, pushing the articulation, we are seeing that that arm can come all the way across the body. Now, of course, this also means that at the waist, there has to be some kind of pivot left and right or swivel. So that should be good for overall articulation, of course. So that means that the armor isn't necessarily getting too much in the way of some of that articulation. But as you can tell, that arm seems to come across really far. Now, it could just be the way that they're showing us in the photo, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is just really good articulation coming from Joytoy. So far, a very impressive piece. Now, here's everything that the figure is going to come with. So as you can see, three rifles, one pistol, 2 knives, and 4 fists. Now, as you're seeing here, and I really don't know how I feel about this in all honesty, it comes with a base, and I imagine it's got pegs in it so you can peg the figure to it. I like that. I think it's cool. I kind of wish that these always came with that, but I also feel if I'm paying more for this figure, I would almost rather pay less to just not have that base, or pay the same amount, but instead of that base, give me more weapons, give me more customization, maybe even better quality. I don't know. How do you guys feel about getting these bases, considering the fact that everything that they do, everything that they add, you will be paying for? You know, any kind of extra pad, any kind of extra anything, that comes out of our pockets. So understand that while it is a cool addition, somewhere, some way, there was a detraction from the final product. Now, the other figure we will be getting will be from the Skeleton Forces as well. This is Shadow Wing Enforcer. Again, black and gold limited. I don't know if I mentioned that the first time, but basically it's supposed to be a limited release, but I've seen them basically at this point at most of the general retail. I shouldn't say retail, but a lot of the stores that we're getting. But again, really cool looking guy. I don't like this helmet as much as I do the other one, but it's not a bad one at all. And again, this seems to be on the same general buck and engineering. So as you can tell, good articulation. That definitely looks like past 90 degrees in the arm. So that's really nice. And of course, I do like the overall white and black aesthetic that we get here. And then of course we get that rear shot, and as you can tell, he has a whole bunch of stuff on his back, pouches, different things, and they're all colored as well, so that's really nice. One of the things that I will mention is, as you know, Joytoy, these prototype photos are always a lot better. I shouldn't say a lot better, but are noticeable better quality than what we actually get in hand, and that's across everything. Their Warhammer stuff. I'm not gonna say that Joytoy isn't a good brand. It's a great brand. The final product you get is always worth the price. It just always seems that the prototypes are just a little bit better. But since these are supposed to be exclusives and cost more, hopefully we'll get a product that looks more like this, because again, really badass look overall. Now again, we do get these really nice action poses. That gun does look really badass. It looks definitely futuristic. That's one way to put it. But again, this is showcasing some of that good articulation, the fact that he can hold it in both hands, and that he's not so bulky that he can't do certain things. I forget what the Flying Cavalry that I bought a long time ago. I like it, but the only thing you can do with that thing is make it look basically aim down sight, and that's about as much as you can get out of that figure. It was kind of disappointing, which is why I don't buy these anymore, but these ones seem to have no issue whatsoever with being able to hold the guns in many different ways, as you can see. Now here we get to see one of the other guns he has. This is more of one of those SMG style. And again, I love the fact that he can basically aim down sight and hold the gun with both hands. And it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So again, the articulation here has been brought up to the next level. And I hope that this is going to be a continuation and that we keep getting specifically specialty figures like this. So again, here we have that kneeling pose, and as you can tell, it looks wonderful. Again, you definitely can tell better here that it's a double joint, so I think that answers our earlier question. But again, looking down sight, this is definitely going to be a posable figure overall. Now here we have him holding his pistol. My only real problem with this photo, it looks good and the arm seems to come across pretty far, but my only real problem that I'm noticing here is that it's hard to tell whether or not even in a blown up version of this, it's hard to tell whether or not you can actually hold the pistol with both hands. I mean, you should theoretically be able to, but in the photo that they decided to use, it kind of looks like the other hand is balled in a fist and is just kind of touching the gun. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that one, though everything would suggest that you should be able to hold this no problem. Now, swords and blades seem to be a running theme here, and as you can tell, he also comes with his own set of stuff, just looking great. And again, just this showcases the fact that that torso articulation is not hindered by the armor itself, so great pose. Here we do see another one of his weapons, and again, these guys come with a host of different stuff, and I think they all look great. Posability is nice. The color of the armor is great. Let me know which one you guys think you would rather get between the other one or this one, since again, there will be a premium to pay. And again, same thing here, we're getting the exact same style of weapon, so three rifles, one pistol, four hands, one blade on this one. And I will tell you right now, that automatically makes the other one, if I only had to choose one, I would choose the previous figure instead, because that blade that he comes with is just way too badass to pass up on, considering how similar these two are in their equipment. But again, we are seeing that base here. We are paying potentially more for this figure, so I am hoping that it's all worth it in the end, because again, if I'm gonna have to pay that premium, I'd rather go towards this guy right here not having the base and instead having a knife or another sword or something. But with that said, I'm gonna drop a little teaser just verbally here that I have a few things in the works for potentially solving that problem, so keep tuned in what I will be posting soon. Now, I did want to show more or less how well these are priced. So they're only about $30 US dollars. I do believe this is Locker Toys. If Big Bad Toy Store ends up getting them, it will probably be closer to 40, which is about in line with what we've gotten before. There doesn't seem to be a real premium or price jump, though you can see here that this is a little bit cheaper than normal. But I just wanted to give you guys an option to see more or less what they might cost. I know that some of you are able to get it for under 30, just like you see here. So, you know, it'll just be dependent on the retailer that you go to. But the pricing doesn't seem to be all that bad. This is actually something that I would be more willing to pay to be able to get both. But again, if I end up getting just one, it'll be that bad boy on the right with that extra sword. So we'll see where we go with that. Now, switching over to the 1/25th scale version of Joytoy, here we have the Iron Wrecker 07 Space Operations Mecha. Now, I feel like I've at least shown you guys one or two photos from this before, but here I was able to get a host of all of them. And yeah, this definitely looks like a dude in a space, like an astronaut suit, but it's actually a mech robot, and it does look pretty badass overall. I like the colors. I like what they did here. This is definitely different than what we normally get from the Joytoy mechs. What we can see here is that the figure can stand on one leg. Now, obviously, it's getting some support from that back foot that's kind of at least slightly touching the floor, but it's still nice that you can get him in a walking pose like this. The overall shape and design, again, I feel is fairly original. I've never seen anything like this before from other lines, so that is something that might entice some of you. And again, the soldier that he comes with looks pretty badass. Now here we get a dope shot of the back, and as you can tell, just a host of different things. The Gatling gun, the what would you call that, the belt that connects to that Gatling gun, the power generator in that red, or it could be something else. But again, Joytoy does a good job of covering this thing 360 with all kinds of detail. Here we get a nice front shot of that cockpit and how far the actual dome piece opens up, which is kind of, I don't know, the way they decided to do that looks a little funky, but when it's down and closed, I think it looks perfectly fine. Now here we get a really nice close-up shot of what that cockpit looks like, and of course what the figure looks like inside the cockpit, and I think this makes a little more sense now that I think about it, of the way that it opens up as a hatch. But definitely a cool, clean look, man. This is definitely what I imagine it could look like. This, like, you know, like kind of like what the Gundam cockpits look like and how they would be able to control their mechs. So I think that this is something that's just a really cool little insight on the figure. Now this is the part that always gets me, just seeing the figure basically bare boned with everything taken off of it. I'm always surprised how much of this you have to put onto the actual figure, because it makes me think that it's not going to be as sturdy if it just kind of already came with everything either glued on or potentially made from the ground up in that manner. So let me know, for some of you who have bought the 125th style stuff, is the quality still there? Do they have loose legs? I think I remember hearing somebody talk about the fact that there was a lot of looseness in some of these smaller figures. Now, of course, it does come with the pilot that I did mention in that white armor, and here we actually get to see what that pilot looks like. And I actually really like this. I like everything that he comes with. He does seem to come with a pistol, which is really nice, and then the rifle itself. So I think this is going to be a nice little piece to add to the collection for sure. I'm not into the 125th scale stuff, but if I were, this is definitely one of those pilots I would definitely want. I couldn't tell you how good the articulation is on some of the smaller stuff. Could be good, or it could be about what Joytoy's always made prior to what we just saw, so who knows. And then continuing on with the Iron Wrecker series, here we have 08 Heavy Airborne Mecha, and damn is this guy really badass. I don't know if it's because maybe I'm just really impartial to that, you know, green color. That like military army green color, marine green color, man, but this is just really dope looking. And he's a thick boy with a big Gatling gun in hand, the Gatling gun on his shoulder, all the missiles. I mean, this guy is definitely looking for war. And of course the guy that he comes with, I like the fact that he has that chrome bronze helmet. That's a nice touch. Again, we get a really nice shot of the back. There's not one detail spared here. This is actually pretty incredible to look at. The jetpacks on the back, because again, he is supposed to be a airborne, so I imagine that's at least thrusters to slow him down as he's coming down. But yeah, man, this is a beautiful piece. This one really moves me a lot more than the 07. Now again, we do get a really nice look at the cockpit, and again, I have to admit that I like this one a lot more. I think it's really just the color scheme, the green and then the black in the middle. I don't know, it makes it look a bit more serious to me. And then again, the figure itself does have a really nice look to it as well. So a lot of the same beats, of course, but I don't know, something about this one, and I know it has to do with basically the color scheme, but this is definitely more up my alley of what I would be. If I could pilot something in real life, it would probably be something like this. Alright, so if you haven't already, please subscribe so you can officially join the trial mob. And if you already are a member of the trial mob, then please like, comment, let me know what you guys like the best out of all this, what you guys are looking forward. Would you guys be willing to make an investment into the 125th scale? Would you guys want to stay with the 118th? What else do you want to see them put out, and are you okay with the fact that they're now adding bases? Don't forget that if it is going to be for around the same $30 price point that we've normally gotten, then that means technically I'm sure there has to be somewhere where they had to have kind of cut costs. So I'm curious to see if it's going to be a better value or if we had to make a sacrifice somewhere down the line. But again, this is some really cool stuff. I am hoping that you guys are continuously keeping up with this and letting me know your thoughts, so that if Joytoy ever looks at this, or if I ever reach out to them, that I have all the information I need to tell them what it is that you guys want. All right, but until the next time, make sure you're paying attention to the community posts, and I'll catch you guys on the next feature.